Hello, my name is Taloria Gray, and I'm here today with Beverly Boone Harris, a graduate of Norfolk State University from Norfolk, Virginia. She graduated from Norfolk State with a bachelor in psychology with emphasis in special education, a master's in guidance and counseling, and she is currently working on her PhD in higher education leadership. So hi, Ms. Beverly, how are you doing today?
I'm well, and yourself?
I'm doing fine. So let's get right to it. What made you decide to come to Norfolk State?
Norfolk State at the time was doing what it was supposed to do as an HBCU. So being local, coming from a family of 8, the 7 of 8 children, it was the place to go if you wanted to continue your education. So the convenience of coming to Norfolk State on the city bus.
Right.
Because back then we didn't have cars and everything. So it was convenient. It was doing what it was supposed to do as far as allowing young people the opportunity to come to college who wouldn't necessarily have that opportunity because the family couldn't afford to send you away. You know, the story of us as a people. And so Norfolk State was convenient. It was here, and it was where I needed to be.
Okay. So when you were at Norfolk State, what activities were you involved in?
I was a marching Spartan. I played clarinet from 4th grade through college. And with that, you know, coming up through the Norfolk Public Schools, I was in the Norfolk Spartans under Mr. Keeling.
Okay.
So that kind of dates it.
Yeah, that's exciting. Okay.
Yeah.
So what made you want to work with people with disabilities?
I contribute that to the fact, being the 7th of 8 children, I've always been an observer. And I would look at things that my older siblings did and thought, that was kind of dumb, you know? So you start observing people and how they do things. So when I understood the idea of majoring in psychology, I liked it. Back then it was psychoeducational diagnostician, so you were to, you had choices of other areas, and so special ed came to mind, getting that education background plus helping students in need. And it paid off.
Okay.
It paid off.
Okay. Since there are a lot of high school students enrolling in Norfolk State, what are some tactics that your job follows to assure that, you know, the students become successful here at Norfolk State just as likely as the other students?
As director of OASIS, which is the Office of Accessibility Services and International Students, we look at the special ed side, the accessibility. We deal with students with disability services, and there is 2 laws basically. ADA of 1990, Americans with Disability Act, and we have Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. Each law stipulates that the students are provided services that will take away some of the barriers.
Kind of
level the playing field.
Right.
So that students will have the same opportunity to be successful regardless of their disability.
Right. That's amazing. Like, we need a lot more people, you know, to introduce stuff like that for, you know, just to help and make sure everybody gets the same opportunities, whether they have, you know, a disability or what have you. So if students want an academic adjustment, what must they do?
Okay. Students are admitted, students with disabilities are admitted to the university on the same criteria that all students, their GPA, their SAT scores, on and on.
Okay.
All right. Once you are admitted to the university, then it's the student's responsibility to make contact with my office.
Okay.
And once they make contact with my office, they provide us with the documentation, ADA of 1990 or the Section 504, that documentation that describes their disability.
Okay.
Once I get that documentation, and really now is Ms. Audrey Wells is my coordinator.
Okay.
Once we receive that documentation, we read through it, we make an appointment for the student to come in and sit down with us and see if we are interpreting their needs as they see their needs. Because the student has typically been followed through high school, you know, through school, whatever grade they were diagnosed, 3rd grade, whatever, they typically are tracked all the way through.
So you're just basically taking their demographics and trying to, you know,
match
create a
them
plan
up with
you know, how they can learn. Okay. So yeah, that's cool. So when should a student request an academic adjustment?
Okay, they should apply with our office. We ask at least 45 days prior to class beginning, but we also we have relationships in the community with the guidance counselor from the high school and different persons that are familiar with what we do in college, and so it starts there. If the student is planning on going to college, they begin telling them, you know, at Norfolk State you have this person, at ODU, so, and every school within the United States should have this program, okay, whether you're private or public. And so by us being in the community and communicating the idea, then the students will understand that it's very important that they come to the Disability Service Office once they reach the college of their choice.
Okay. Okay, so how long did it take you to obtain your degree?
How long did I was an older student. I came to school, then I left, then I got married. So I was an older student coming back to school, yeah.
Okay. All right, so what made you decide to study on beyond your bachelor's degree?
First of all, the need to be educated.
Right.
You should always think in terms of being a lifetime educator.
Right.
Okay, so with that, and then being on a college level, which I had already started my master's before I got my job at Norfolk State, and I completed it here. And so your need to serve people, and if you're going to continuously serve people, then you need to stay abreast of research, what's going on in your field, and so you just keep adding to, and then if I'm going to encourage my students to get their education and do well, how dare me not have mine?
Right, you have to set an example.
Set an example, yeah, for family members, for the students that I work with, and the love of Norfolk State.
Absolutely.
The more I train myself and the more disciplined I am, the better it serves Norfolk State.
Absolutely. So were you familiar with the OASIS program, or was it even, you know, a thing back when you were in school? Did you know anything about it?
Well, the ironic thing is, I majored in psychology with emphasis in special education. So I studied the law, and back then it was Public Law 94-142. And then when I received my master's and was blessed to get a job at Norfolk State, Dr. McDemin, our former first female president, came to Norfolk State in '97, and she required that we have a disability program. We didn't have one.
Wow.
And so by me being in the council, I was hired in the counseling center, and my director at the time was Dr. Rayford. When they came to him with the idea that we needed the program, he said he knew my background was in psychology and special education. So they asked me to look at it.
Wow.
So I researched, developed, and started. I am the founding director of, which back then was Students with Disability Services. And we recently changed the name to OASIS with the assistance of my students, because to take away the stigma of disability in your face, the students came up with OASIS.
Right.
Because now, since that was '98, I developed the program for the university. In 2009, I was given the International Students piece, and so we wanted something that you wouldn't have to say all of that at one time.
Right.
Keep saying, so OASIS fit real good.
So that kind of goes back to, you know, it's not what you know, it's who you know, as far as how you got started with that, you know.
And preparation.
And networking and, you know.
Had I not had the background, I feel, in the special ed component, because back then you could do psychology and have emphasis in different areas.
Right.
But I had chosen special education. I had worked in the public schools with students with special ed. So it kind of all came together and it fit, you know. So when the president required that we have the program and it come out the counseling center, I went to work with it.
Okay. Well, that's all the time we have today. Thank you, Beverly, for coming out. I'm Taloria Gray, and thank you for watching Beyond NSU.